Welcome to Journey Home to Self. This is a place for us to explore the milestones, the roadblocks, the pit stops, and the breathtaking sights on the most important journey of our lives, the journey of coming back home to you. My hope is that through the stories, insights, knowledge, and wisdom we share here, you get inspired and activated to widely fall in love with choosing yourself every single moment. I'm your host, Deepshikha Sairam, and I am truly so excited and honored that you are here. Let's dive in and journey home to self together. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Journey Home to Self. This is Deepshikha, your host, and today we're talking about how to quit people pleasing. I believe that all of us on our journey home to self have some lessons we have to learn. There is always a challenge in the lesson and a gift when we have incorporated the lesson or embodied the wisdom of the lesson in our body. For me, my biggest challenge was around people pleasing. Now, I know I am not alone. If you are a high achieving woman, chances are you too are a people pleaser. In fact, one recent study found this behavior to be exhibited in the majority of female participants, around 54%, while only a minority of men, 40%, showed similar tendencies. Personally, for me, when I started working on my people pleasing and slowly, step by step, stopped the vicious cycle to be always worrying about who I was upsetting and how I can please people, I freed up so much energy that I could finally focus on living my life. Now, I have been a lifelong people pleaser, so I'm extremely prone to default to it. That's why I call myself a people pleaser in recovery. I'm aware I'm one. I know that I don't want to be one, and I have the tools to work on it. Yes, it's going to take conscious effort like quitting any bad habit, but I do believe that as long as I'm committed to coming back home to myself, I can use the tools at my disposal to stay in recovery. On this episode, I'm going to share with you how you too can quit people pleasing. So let's dive in. Being kind and helpful is generally a good thing, but going too far to please others can leave you feeling emotionally depleted, stressed, and anxious, especially when you're pleasing others while you put your needs and your happiness on the back burner. So, what is a people pleaser? People pleasing involves putting someone else's needs ahead of your own. People pleasers are highly attuned to others and are often seen as agreeable, helpful, and kind. However, they may have trouble advocating for themselves, which can lead to a harmful pattern of self sacrifice and self neglect. People pleasing usually comes from a place of insecurity, and those who behave this way often feel that if they do, others will all value them and accept them. Instead, these individuals are likely to feel burned out and resentful towards those who they always help, and as a result, feel too physically and emotionally drained to meet their own needs. Now, if you think about it, people pleasing is also very manipulative. We, as people pleasers, often do things not because we want to, but because we don't want to disappoint people, because we want people to like us. Sometimes we might not even like the cause or the people we are doing it for. Of course, none of this is conscious. People pleasing is often a trauma response or an unconscious habit that we have trained ourselves to indulge in. But like I say, consciousness is just awareness. Once you become aware of it, you can begin to change it. Now, if you are a people pleaser, there might be a number of characteristics that you tend to share as well. Here are some signs that you might be a people pleaser. You have a difficult time saying no or saying yes when you actually want to say no. You're constantly concerned about what others think of you. You apologize for things that you're not responsible for. You fear that turning people down will make them think that you're mean or selfish. You may have low self esteem or struggle with feelings of low self esteem. You have a habit of suppressing your anger, your sadness, or other negative emotions. You want people to like you, and you feel that doing things for them will earn their approval. You may always be telling people you are sorry for something that you don't have to apologize. You take the blame even when something isn't your fault. You often feel that you don't have any free time yourself because you're always doing things for other people. Therefore, you neglect your own needs as well. You pretend to agree with people even though you may feel differently. You try to help others even if they haven't asked for your help. You're often afraid of making a fool of yourself, and you're always worrying about what people are thinking of you. You may even flatter others, even those you dislike. You may have a tendency to avoid disagreement or conflict. And you may have this desire to wanting to appear perfect at all times. You may feel unworthy of love and respect. You may believe that others know better than you, and you may show compassion to others but never to yourself. I realized that as a people pleaser, I was so hard on myself while I was kind to everyone else. Now, before we stop the habit of people pleasing, it's important to understand why you might be engaging in any of the behaviors I mentioned. Some of these reasons may be coming from your childhood. If you grew around people who were short tempered, you may have learned that it's better to make others happy. Things go smoothly when you make mom, dad, or your caregivers happy. If there was a lot of fighting at home, you might go to great length to avoid conflicts now that you are an adult. Kids who have strict parents or teachers or caregivers miss out on the opportunity to learn who they are. They were so busy following orders. As an adult, you might constantly want to blend in and seek approval of others. Sometimes people engage in people pleasing behavior because they don't value their own desires and needs. Due to a lack of self confidence and low self esteem, people pleasers have this constant need for external validation. Often, we people please in order to make ourselves feel better or to prove our own self worth. If you like me, I may feel better about myself as well. It is important to remember that people pleasing may work in the short term, but in the long term, it always causes problems. People pleasing can become a problem because the constant feeling of needing to prioritize others before yourself can wreak havoc on your mental, emotional, and physical health. It's damaging to rely on people pleasing behaviors to improve your feelings of self worth. Putting others' happiness ahead of our own emotional well being leaves you unable to attend to your own basic needs. People pleasing is also linked with increased feelings of anxiety and stress because you're always managing your own responsibilities with the responsibilities of others. You have less time for self care, higher risk of being taken advantage of, and the potential of burnout. People pleasers are genuinely not happy. They're frustrated, they're resentful, agitated, and angry, and it's hard for them to have authentic relationships. Research has also shown that people pleasing drains you out of self discipline. And most importantly, when you're so busy thinking, keeping others happy, you will never get a chance to learn who you really are. It's like you're living in a mental cage that prevents you from your own authenticity. People pleasers find it extremely hard to enjoy themselves, pursue their dreams, or just speak out their mind and heart. They're constantly concerned about what others think of them. As a result, their lives can lack joy, freedom, meaning, and purpose. Because of that, they tend to experience a sense of emptiness, which they often, in a vicious cycle, fill by pleasing others instead of taking care of their own needs. Now, fortunately, there are steps that you can take to stop being a people pleaser and learn how to balance your desire to make others happy without sacrificing your own. Number one is becoming conscious of your behavior. This is the first and important step to stop people pleasing, to become aware that you're engaging in it. This was so crucial for me. Once I became aware that I was indeed a people pleaser and I had to quit my judgment of being a people pleaser, then I could take the steps to stop becoming one. So, if any of the things that I mentioned above rings true for you, don't judge yourself. Awareness is key in changing your habits. It's key in breaking the habit of being yourself. Now that you're aware of it, start changing. Start doing things that stop your habit of people pleasing. Number two is practice saying no. Think about what it will sound like, feel like if you were to say no to people. Often we think that when we say no, we're going to be considered as bad or unkind. However, when you continue to practice saying no till you're not triggered by that word, you realize that it's not really a big deal. People say no all the time. In fact, there was this one client of mine who had such a hard time saying no. She was a yes person to everybody, that she was very, very resentful and agitated with her habit of saying yes to everyone. I gave her a challenge to say no to 5 people every day. It had to be for anything. Can I cut in line because I'm getting late to buy coffee? No. Mom, can I have a snack? No. Darling, can you pick laundry on the way back home? No. She had to say no to everyone and everybody, strangers, family, friends, colleagues, clients, everyone. I kid you not, by the 15th day, she had become such a pro at saying no that she actually enjoyed it. There was this freedom of being able to choose what she really, really wanted to do. And that's what practicing saying no does to you. It is actually freedom of choosing what you really want to say yes to. When you become so conscious of saying yes to things that you only want to do, that is true freedom. And imagine all the energy and time you'll be freeing from doing things that you didn't really want to do anyway. And you know what her biggest realization was? That actually people didn't really mind hearing no. Her husband didn't mind that he would be the one who has to pick up the kids 3 times a week, or that he would have to do takeout or cook dinner for her, or that her kids can go to the pantry and take a snack themselves, or that she would not be able to respond to an email from a client after working hours. She realized that people didn't really need her to say yes all the time. It was a very freeing realization for her. Number 3, make the phrase, let me get back to you on that, or I need time to think, your best friend. This itself was so crucial for me in my people pleasing recovery. I was the person who had to respond immediately, who had to check my email immediately, who had to check my messages, my DMs, as soon as the notification said ping. This was something that I had to work on, and it was really hard at first. I actually put a post-it on my laptop which said, take 30 minutes. Do not reply before 30 minutes. It didn't work the first few times. I would reply back in 5 minutes. But then I actually had to leave my office or leave my phone in my bedroom and go out somewhere, take a walk, and then come back after 15 minutes. Then I started doing 20 and 30, and then I finally increased it up to 24 hours to respond back to any request, any email, unless, of course, it was super urgent, which honestly, there are only less than 1% of things that are super urgent that need your response right away. Again, my realization was that people don't really expect to hear from you right away. And my other realization was that when I took time to respond, my initial emotional reaction was gone, and I was able to respond in a much calmer way. Sometimes there would be an email that would trigger me immediately, but when I gave myself time and came back and read it, the meaning itself changed because I wasn't triggered anymore. Number four, and this is again so important for any people pleaser, is schedule time for yourself. Make sure you block out time in your calendar, your me time, your alone time, so that you can take care of your own needs. Schedule it and stick to it. Now, this isn't about going to a spa or taking a bubble bath. It could be a 20-minute walk that you take alone. It could be booking a vacation for yourself. It could be anything. This isn't about self care, it's about giving yourself time to be with yourself, to know yourself. Often, people pleasers are so busy thinking about others that they put their own care at the back burner. Another thing that really helped me, and this is number five, is getting super clear on your core values. And I'm not talking about, your company's core values. I'm talking about your core values, your personal core values. I had to write them down, stick it on my board, and read them almost on a daily basis so that I knew what was really important to me. When you know what your values are, you can prioritize that and yourself. Number six is establishing clear boundaries and communicating to those around you. Now, I have to admit, this may be hard for many of us. I wish setting boundaries was something that was taught in school, but it isn't. And it is so difficult for adults, especially people pleasing adults, to set boundaries and to communicate them. If that is you, then start small. You don't have to create boundaries for everything and create these severe boundaries that you're not going to be able to follow through on. Start small. Maybe it is, I'm not going to respond to any emails after 7 o'clock or after 5 o'clock in the night. Or I'm going to shut my door between 5 to 7 or between 9 to 11 in the morning, and I'm going to work out or meditate. It could be the smallest of boundary. Fridays, I don't check email. Or Fridays, I take time for myself. Or it could be big boundaries that you communicate to someone. If this is something which is hard for you, I strongly suggest getting help either from a mental health expert or from someone who is trained in helping people create boundaries. Creating boundaries can be scary, but it does get easier and people respect you for that. One of the boundaries that I had to create was with a loved one. I had to tell them that they cannot talk to me in the way that they did. It was extremely hard. I had to practice it with my therapist many, many times. And even though after that, saying that was made my heart pound. But once I said it, I realized that it wasn't that they were doing it deliberately. It was something that they had trained themselves to talk to me in a certain way that triggered my emotion, that made me resentful and angry. And lastly, get to know yourself. And I am talking about the self with an uppercase S. We talked about it 2 episodes before. Getting to know your true nature, what you like, your dislike, what you desire, is one way to come home rather than trying to live a life for others. And needless to say, to stop people pleasing can be immensely difficult. It can be hard. After all, it's a habit that we've learned for our entire life. We have spent our lifetimes being a people pleaser, and unlearning that can take time. So be gentle with yourself. Don't judge yourself. Get help. Work with a therapist, work with a coach, work with a mentor, or talk to your friends about it. Slowly, step by step, you will see that you will start to break these long held mental and behavioral patterns. through introspection, self compassion, and the cultivation of honesty, and with some really useful tools like creating boundaries and taking time for yourself, it can definitely be stopped. Or, like me, you can also be a people pleaser in recovery. I hope these really helped you. Get in touch with us through DM on Instagram or email us and tell us what has your people pleaser experience been like. And if you have some more tools to share with us, we would love to hear from you. Until next time, this is Deepshikha signing out. Thanks for listening to Journey Home to Self. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And of course, your 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Thanks again, and see you next week.